These little 4 patches are just a little bit bigger than a penny. Hey, this is Canary Quilts, and this is month 7 of the 11th Simple Whatnots Club. I actually got that all out at once. I don't think I've done that yet. But anyway, it's called Smarty Pants, and it's the smallest one we've done. It's tiny. I think it's 10.5 by 11.5 inches. This was so much fun to put together. You're not, it is repetition, but it's not very big, so it's not a lot of repetition. So it doesn't drive you mad, I guess. If I had to do a whole big quilt of these, I think I would go crazy. But a little quilt like this, beautiful. Love it. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the entire thing. I'm going to show you my cut pieces, and I'll end with putting the binding on. So I show you how I quilted and everything. This didn't take me very long. I would say half a day, maybe, not very long. So I think you'll have fun doing it too. This is month 7. There's only 8 months. We've got one more month to go, and I think it's coming soon. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you're watching these and you want to keep up to date on all of these. Also, I just found out that collection 12 is going to come out in a few months, and I saw the collection, and I'm going to put a picture in right now. So if you follow me here and on social media, I will let you know as soon as this is available to buy from where I know where to buy it. But if you're not from this country, at least you'll know that maybe you'll know it's ready for sale. So, it's pretty cool, isn't it? I had a lot of people who are interested in this Simple Whatnots Club, and it was too late to get into it. So, follow me, and I will let you know as soon as collection 12 is out, and I'm going to be doing it, so you can do it with me. But anyway, let's get started on our little Smarty Pants quilt. It's so cute. Okay, to get started on our Smarty Pants quilt, which is Simple Whatnots Club, collection 11. And just a quick note, collection 12 is going to be coming out here in a few months, and I have seen a picture of the collection, and I'm pretty sure I put a picture of that in my intro here. But anyway, that's exciting, so stay tuned on my social media or here, and I'll let you know when that gets released. I had a lot of people interested in this, and they didn't find out till after it was already too late. So anyway, Smarty Pants is a small quilt. It's 10.5 by 11.5 inches, so very small. I've already cut my fabrics out, and I just want to go through those cuts real quick. So I have 34 of the cream squares, and those are the 5 assorted fabrics that they gave us. And that's what's going to go here in between our 4 patches. Then I have 134 of my 4 patch squares cut here. Now there were 25 different fabrics that I had to cut from. So I think I got 6 squares from each fabric. So I've got at least 134 squares right here. And that's what's going to go in these 4 patches. Then we have 2 of our borders here have a thin green, a thinner brown, and then a larger green strip. And that's what I have cut here. So these are the 2 brown strips that are going to be right here in the border. And then the 2 smaller strips are going to be here. And then I have 2 larger strips that will be on the top and bottom. I have my binding over here, and I have my backing over here. So that's all there is to it. We're going to put together our 4 patches and then trim them down to size. Just randomly put colors together. Then we're going to make our A rows, which will have the 4 patches on each side, and then our B rows, which will have the cream patches on each side. And then we'll put our rows together, we'll put our borders together, and we'll be done. But anyway, this is the backing. I don't know if I mentioned that. But I want to show you the amount of fabric that was left from this one. There is and all of this is folded. It's folded in half. So, I mean, you could get a few of these little quilts out of this with, you know, various borders. So yeah, this was I don't know what I'm gonna do with all this fabric, and I have fabric left from my other quilts too, so we'll see. I might have to come up with my own little pattern or something to do. But I just wanted to show you how much fabric is left from these. So the price of the kit is well worth it. I would absolutely recommend this club. It has been a blast. I still have one more month to do. I've gotten some beautiful quilts. So, you know, stay tuned. I'll tell you when Collection 12 comes out. So anyway, we're going to get started. The first thing we're going to do is start building our 4 patches. So I'm going to get my sewing machine set up and we'll get ready to go. Okay, I'm set up at my machine and I'm going to be starting my 4 patch units right here. So all I'm going to do is I've made just a pile of these things and I'm going to pull randomly, and I'm not going to, if I pull 2 of the same colors, I'm not going to put them together. But that's about the only restriction I have. And I'm going to start sewing 2 together, and I'm going to chain piece all of these things and get these half squares done, get them ironed, and then put them together as squares. So that's all that needs to be done with this. So I'm going to get started. I have my 1/4 inch foot in and I'm ready to go. I've got my half blocks sewn here and I'm ready to iron them, and in the pattern it says to iron half of them one way, half the other way, but you don't need to do that unless you're putting your blocks in a specific order. You don't need to do that, because since mine are random, I'm just going to iron both seams the same way. And then when I put my seams together, all I have to do is flip them till they're nesting, till they're in opposite order. So I wouldn't do half of them one way and half the other way. Just do them all the same way, and then when you pick them out, you can just turn them to fit so that they nest. So pretty simple. I gotta. Here's my pile of 2 patches, I guess, if you want to call them that, which we are going to now make into a 4 patch. And you can just turn your seams till they are opposite of each other, and then nest them together. And you can feel when they nest, it's like a lock. It just locks right in place. And I'll give it a clip, and then we're going to sew along this line right here. And I'm going to do that to the rest of these, and we just iron to one side. So let's get all of these sewn together, get our 4 patches done, and we'll get them all ironed to one side, and we're ready to start putting our quilt top together. I got my squares, my 4 patch squares all sewn together. Now we just need to iron them all just to one side. Okay, I got all these ironed. Now we have some trimming to do because these two need to be the same size. So, to make sure it's in the middle, it's got to be 1.5 inches. So I am putting my center on the 3/4 inch mark. So I've got 3/4 inches in all directions. And then I'll get my 1.5 inch square, which I can see why they have you cut it down. It would have been impossible to work with tiny little pieces like that. So now we have the same size. So I'm going to finish these up over here. And we'll have all our little blocks. I still have to sew a seam in those. They're going to be really tiny. They don't look that small in the picture. Okay, I got all my little 4 patches trimmed up to the right size, and we are now ready to put our rows together. So this is going quick. I mixed up my cream colors and just kind of randomly grabbed them and put them out. We are going to have row A and row B. You will need 5 of row A's and you will need 4 row B's. And then when we get our rows together, we'll alternate and we'll go A, B, A, B, A, B, A. So we're going to sew these rows together and we're going to iron. We're always going to iron towards the cream colored patch. That way when we put our rows together, these seams here will be opposite each other and they will nest and we'll have nice points there. So we're ready to start sewing our rows together. And I'm just randomly picking my blocks out. So remember, row A, you need 5 of these, and row B, you need 4 of these. So 5 of these rows, 4 of these rows. So I'm going to get started sewing. Okay, that's what row A is going to look like. That's what row B is going to look like. So I'm going to get my rows all finished up and we'll come back and put our little quilt top together. Okay, I've got my 5 row A's and my 5 row B's, and now we're just going to build the quilt top, we're going to alternate the rows. And because we ironed all our patches towards the cream colored patch, all these rows will nest together. There we go. Look how tiny that thing is. And it's going to get even tinier. So just take your first 2 rows and each seam you can nest together and clip or pin, whatever you prefer. And I just go down through and pin each seam just to hold it in place. And then we are going to sew these together. So you can see right here where they would nest. So when we get done ironing or sewing these, we are always going to iron towards the B row, which starts with the cream. So as you put these together, just always iron towards the row that starts with the cream color. It's that simple. So I'm going to put my rows together in 2s and just sew them all at the same time. Okay, I got 4 of my rows sewn together, and now we are going to iron towards the B row, which has the cream color patches on the ends. Okay, I've got all these rows sewn together and ironed towards the B row. So now I can just start putting these together. And we'll just keep doing that until we have the whole thing sewn together, and just keep ironing your seams towards that B row, which has the cream color patches on each end. There we go. There's our little quilt top center done. You can see how tiny it is next to my hands. That is really cute. So the next thing we're going to do is work on this border right here with the green, brown, green. So you want to get your strips ready. We're going to make 2 of them. And it's going to go with the smallest green strip, then the brown, then the middle green strip. I think it's 1 1¼ But we're just going to sew. Let's do this. We're going to sew the green onto either side of the brown, and we're going to iron towards the brown. So pretty simple. And we're going to iron this towards that brown strip. Now we'll take our thinner strip and just add it to the other side so that we have it sandwiched in between the two. You want to iron this side towards the brown also. So you get this, I don't even know how we're going to do that. That seems awful hard. I am not going to do that. There's not going to be any matching seams, so I am going to iron it towards the green. You want to trim this down to 9.5 inches, which I think is even still longer. Now we are going to put these on the sides of our quilt. And I'm just going to line up one side. And it is a little longer, so we will trim that when we get done sewing. Okay, we'll get these two borders put on and we're going to iron towards the border. Oh, that's going to be pretty. It's going to be so pretty. Okay, let's iron towards that side border. Okay, now we will add our biggest strip here to the top and the bottom. We're going to sew this on and we are going to iron towards the strip, that green border. Let's trim this up. And our little quilt top is done. That didn't take much time at all. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. Just enough variation to give it, to make it fun to do. Small enough, there's not that much repetition. And doesn't take long. That's what's so great about a mini quilt. Now, we need to sandwich it with the backing and quilt it. Look how tiny it is. It's just so tiny. Just a little guy. Just a little guy. Or gal. Little gal. Okay, let me get ready to sandwich it and put the back on, and then we'll come back and quilt it. Okay, to get ready to quilt this, I'm going to quilt straight lines right down the middle of these rows. And then I'm going to come back and do the same thing. So it'll just be like a grid quilting pattern. So to get set up to do that, I'm going to start, I've got a friction pen that will, it goes away with heat. So when I iron it in the end, it will disappear. So I want to go straight down these here, so okay. Just gonna lightly draw a line here so I can see it. It's probably hard for you to see. Let me do it again. Okay, there you go. So if I do that, it is every 3/4 of an inch. Or I could leave these alone and just do the white. Let's do that and see how that looks in the end. I can always add more grid to it. Sometimes you have to do this kind of stuff on the fly. Like you have something in your brain, but then when you're really looking at it, you're like, might be better to do it this way, or I might like it better this way. Okay, there's my grid drawn out for quilting. You can see my back's on. And I'm going to get my machine set up with the walking foot and my little table extension so that I can put it on there, and I'll just use my walking foot and just keep going back and forth on the lines and get it quilted. Okay, I'm over here ready to quilt. I wanted to show you, I have my walking foot in. The reason I'm using my walking foot is so the top and bottom layers don't push against each other, even though it's basted down. I don't want that to happen. And then my bobbin thread is going to have bottom line, and it's kind of a gray, but it really just kind of disappears. And then I've got this pretty variegated sulky thread that I'm going to use on the top. And I've used this several times on the simple whatnots. So I'm going to use it again. But yeah, I'm going to get it threaded and we'll get to quilting. Okay, I did a test and I look at the top and then I look at the bottom to make sure my tension is good and everything looks good, so it does. So I'm just going to start sewing in rows. Go, a nice little grid going on. So now I can iron it, get those lines off of it, trim it up, and we can bind it. Okay, I'm going to get this trimmed up and then I'm going to iron it to get my lines off of there. There we go. Got it trimmed up. I'm going to iron those lines away. Okay, my lines are ironed. Last thing we need to do is get our binding, which I have right here, and we need to sew the pieces together and then iron them in half. So the way I do my binding is I just put my pieces together perpendicular to each other, and I sew a seam from the top corner to the bottom corner, and then I trim it off. I then trim 1/4 of an inch from my seam, and I iron that seam open. Now I'm going to just fold it wrong sides together in half and iron it down the middle. Okay, now that I have it ironed, I leave quite a tail out here, and then I start sewing close to the edge. So I'll sew from about right here all the way around, then I'll stop right about there, and then I'll cut it so that it fits. And I'll show you that when I get there. Okay, I started binding here, went all the way around and stopped right here, so I have this section left that's open. And I think what I'm going to do is just kind of cut this bottom one kind of right down the middle there. Lay this top one on top of it. I'm going to line my bottom one up with this line right here, and this is a 2.5 inch binding. So I'm going to go back 2 1/4 inches and trim it there. And I like to do it about 1/4 inch less. So there it is. That cut is right on 2 1/4 from this cut. So now, got to put them together. And I take this one and I just lay it out like this. And then I take this one and I twist it towards me. It's the only way I can remember to do it. Twist it towards me, and then I put these two together. So I'm just going to get these clipped, and then I'm going to come here and clip that so I can have a little bit more room to work. Okay, so these are clipped together how I need them. And I want to line them up. This is the only problem with tiny quilts. You want to just line them up on the edges. And I'm just going to clip in there.